Hi, I'm Bartosz from Cyrus, and welcome to the next episode in a series about sound quality. I'm still joined by David, Stuart and Kerry, and today we will talk about the attack and decay on notes. Not sure if you agree, but to me it's all about those transients, those extremely short but rich pieces of musical energy that a good system will reproduce accurately and which tend to get lost in lesser systems. I noticed this especially with double bass, piano and cymbals. If you look at acoustic double bass, for example, the sound may be richer than you would expect from this instrument. Look at the variety of factors that all play a part here. The way you pull the strings and move your fingers on the fingerboard. Strings are first touched, then pulled, sometimes dampened. The resulting sound is very complex because of additional box resonances and harmonics that enrich the initial sound. Stuart, you're particularly fond of this notion. What do you think?
Your question for me is kind of summed up in the word of loss. Because retaining this element, this sort of, is part of the magic of a really good system. And it's something we dig for. So in our listening, we make small iterative changes, and we'll always listen, particularly for these elements. And particularly for me, I think the decay on the notes, when you get it right, the way a note decays into silence is fantastic. It's a great experience of a good system with a good recording. And it ties in with perhaps what Kerry mentioned earlier, the blackness. So it's that contrast. So to hear the note decay into a really good blackness is again, that's a sort of a composite element of a good system. Now, I think also the attack and decay of the notes, they tie in together. You get one right, and to some extent, the other one will follow. And probably as examples, piano particularly, as I'm sure everyone knows, can have the most wonderful decay to the notes. And in that is the expression of the piano player. So you get directly connected to how they are playing the keys. But also, as Bartosz said, double bass, and don't just think of a bass as being a kind of a rhythmic instrument. The rich sound from a double bass is amazing and can just be an entertainment just in itself. So let's think of an example of a track that would demonstrate this. One track that's been in our listening arsenal for quite some time is Pinnock's Four Seasons with the English Concert, and just about all of that disc will demonstrate this. I think probably the second movement of Winter we particularly like, but the way that the instruments are playing, once you start to hear into that, particularly like that disc for that. And then for me also, the silences are particularly important. So once the performers have created a silence in their performance, to be able to kind of measure that, you can measure that in your head and just know when the music will continue and when the next leading edge will come. And that's all, again, part of a really good system. And sometimes for me, there's more music in the pauses than there is in the notes. I know that sounds ridiculous, but you really then start to connect.
No, that doesn't sound ridiculous, I assure you. Actually, there is one label in Europe called ECM, and they make a point of that. Their marketing slogan is the next best sound to silence, which speaks for itself. Their founder, Manfred Eicher, claims that silence, or pauses, are as important as notes and sounds. In fact, every CD they release starts with a few seconds of silence. And I have to say I am a huge fan of their catalogue and quality of recordings. But there is one other example, unrelated to ECM, I would like to share with you, which I think demonstrates the attack and decay on notes quite well. It's by a Polish singer, Anna Maria Jopek, the opening track from her Barefoot album. It's a piece recorded using acoustic instruments only, and especially the sound of piano stands out here. Leszek Możdżer, who himself is widely respected in the jazz community, plays it in an orthodox way. In this particular recording, he uses pieces of rubber and sometimes his fingers to dampen strings in his piano. As a result, we can hear a lot of vibrance and resonance that decays nicely into the silence. If you don't know the piece, do check it out. It really makes a good system shine. And the better the system gets, the better those nuances will be reproduced. Kerry, how do you see this from a design point of view?
Well, again, it's touching on a bit of what you guys have already said, in that it's not losing anything. So it's these edge details that once you've lost them, they're gone. No amount of other boxes you plug into your system is going to get them back. So it's really nurturing that signal throughout the system. Obviously, the biggest killer on them are things like time smear. So again, a bit back to our timing, but where if you get your time smear on your notes, you're going to lose that sharp edge and that decay. Instead of being the natural decay that you'd expecting from the instrument, it becomes this sort of digitized creation of the notes still not quite fully formed. So that's in our DAC side of things, but that also carries through into every other section of the system. So anywhere where that change in voltage can't happen fast enough to keep up with the change of music is going to create a time smear. So this will again pull into power supply designs, because the supply has to deliver that charge at the point where we want it to be able to create that fast rising edge, that fast falling edge. And this is through the preamp section, and then even more so once you get into the power amplifier section.
So again, it's very true that your system is as good as its weakest part. That's all for this episode. Please remember to subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so, and see you next time. Bye.